morning, everyone. Well, today is the closing arguments up in central New York for the Robert Brooks murder trial. And of course, we got 3 former New York State correction officers being charged with his death. Both the prosecution and defense rested their cases yesterday up in Oneida County with body cam footage and damning body camming footage showing officers beating up Brooks, who was an inmate, I think, across the street in Marcy, and was it Marcy? I'm not sure, but I think ended up in Marcy where the alleged murder happened, in the examination room almost about 10 months ago. Of course, he died in the hospital the next day. Both the attorneys gave their final plea on Wednesday in one last attempt to sway them. The prosecution has told the jury that the officers acted like gang members, which, you look at the footage and, oh my goodness, I mean, there's no way to defend it. While the officer says they were following orders. Okay, the only problem with that is you are not obligated to follow unlawful orders. Officers are peace officers. They take an oath to defend the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the state of New York, so they don't have to follow unlawful orders. Almost a week, 6 days. Correction officers David Kinsley, Nicholas Kiefer, and Matthew Gallagher are charged with second-degree murder and manslaughter. Now, their lawyers, the officers' lawyers, trying to get the murder charge dismissed, saying he was just following the orders. Again, that's just not going to fly. That's just not going to fly. I mean, good luck. I mean, they're relying on ignorance and sympathy on right now to get this case this way in their favor. And of course, as this case is winding down, the Center of Community Alternatives is advocating for passage of 3 New York State bills aimed at protecting inmates. The goal is to minimize the amount of time incarcerated people have to spend in prison. Oh boy. And these reforms, they're saying, would help all the incarcerated loved ones, but mine in particular. Hopefully, they're saying that they would qualify for the Earned Time Act, which could actually have access to programs. Really have crap like that. It's called good time. They say he's been able to, I know Melanie Bishop, a mother of one of the incarcerated inmates in New York State. He's been incarcerated for 5 years, not been getting any type of drug program or anything like that because he's got too much time left on the sentence. Which I really find hard to believe. I'm not buying this crap whatsoever. Anyone knows who's done work in this system knows there is help available. And if you want to change, you are going to change. The Department of Corrections, of course, is not pending on the pending legislation. Hopefully it goes because this is crap. Where you have the Holt Act that needs to go. And the inmate PAC money has gone a long way to keeping Hochul and the New York State legislator with that ridiculous Holt, which has made the New York State prison system a horrible place to work and unsafe to work, both your physical and mental well-being. In 10 total, we have 10 officers that were indicted in Brooks' death. 5 of them have already pled guilty to manslaughter and 1 to evidence tampering. And there's only one guy left to charge, and he will go on charge in 2017 in January. Michael Fisher. He's on for first-degree manslaughter. Of course, looking at this yesterday, one of the sergeants involved in the case, Greg Tremblay, testified yesterday, and just by looking at what he said, assuming that the media ain't tampering or twisting what he said, I can only go by what I see here. It seems like Greg Tremblay has made a deal to throw these officers under the bus, even though he's one of the 3 sergeants, and probably the lead sergeant, going by the video cam footage on this thing. And taking a guess, I'd say he probably pretty much made a deal here for him to get off. In fact, I haven't seen anything about him getting charged. And of course, the defendants in the case, the 3 officers we're talking about here, have not called for any witnesses, and frankly, there are no witnesses to call. Apparently, Tremblay told the jury when he got to the scene, he saw Brooks on the ground, and he could tell that he had been pepper sprayed. And he didn't see any injuries on him at the time, which is possible. I mean, anyone who's ever been under pepper spray or OC spray, it burns. But it won't kill you unless you got respiratory problems. Tremblay says he was wearing his body cam during the incident but didn't turn it on. He explained he was 10 minutes from going home. Oh boy. And forgot to turn his camera on. At this point, he said he heard no disrespect from Brooks to him or any officers. Heard. Problem is, he's right there. Brooks was eventually taken away by ambulance to the local hospital area. And Tremblay admitted that Brooks was in serious physical trouble, if not dead. He also said he told officers going to fill out their paperwork to get their story straight. And he told the jury he wanted the officers to have a good story to justify the injuries Brooks received. And listen, I know it sounds terrible, but everyone knows this is the game in law enforcement. Yeah. You have to justify everything you do on a person. Doesn't matter if it's hands, batons, pepper spray, bullets. You got to justify it. Because a good attorney will look for any loopholes of anyone involved to charge the officers. That's just the way it is. Now, he said it wasn't his intent for the officers to give an accurate depiction of the incident because he knew he would get in trouble and wanted to protect his officers. Listen, anyone in this business knows that's true. You don't want to see your coworkers get in trouble. Problem is, he should have said, guys, stop. Especially with a guy who's cuffed. If he's mouthing off, let him mouthing off. If he's cuffed, he isn't going to do anything. Now, if he tries to spit on you, we have masks for that. Put over a see-through mask. Prevents the saliva from getting out. But he can still breathe. The officers also did not include the incident in the prison infirmary, captured on pretty body cam footage, and this is the damning part right here. Only the incident prior on the way down there. He said he directed officers to fix their paperwork several times to justify Brooks' injuries. And this is where probably Tremblay, why he wasn't getting charged, because he wasn't there for the walkway beating, but got there afterwards. Which could make a lot of sense. Okay, he also admitted Officer Sergeant Greg Krembley said he wasn't aware that the events of the night were being recorded until about a week later when he was suspended from his position. Officers out there learn the lesson about body cameras. Even if you don't turn them on, they're still on. Your credibility, your integrity are constantly on the line. In fact, if you go to New York City right now, you got to turn your body cam on for everything, including if someone comes up and gives you directions, you have to turn your body cam on, and you have to document it. This is how crazy this has gotten. I mean, it's hard to be a law enforcement officer when you turn your body cam on for everything, and I mean, you would never leave your desk in a city like New York, but this is what it's come down to, at least in New York State. Of course, Trombley then watched his body cam footage with the jury, identify the officers in the room. He said Brooks had done nothing at this point to justify beating he was enduring. And okay, then the problem is, well, why didn't you tell him, give him officers to stop? Sergeant Trombley then he told Gallagher to get leg restraints from one of the vehicles. Gallagher returns to the room. Sergeant Trombley doesn't recall asking Gallagher to cuff Brooks' legs, but he does. He says there was no reason for his legs to be restrained at this point. And because we have no audio, we don't know what was said. And audio, anyone who knows this business, audio can be just as damaging or more damaging than the video. Okay, Trombley also admitted that he tried to speak with inmate Robert Brooks, asking him to take his clothing off for his intake photo, which is normal for this kind of stuff, but couldn't understand what he was saying. Then he directed officers to take him to the corner of the emergency room where the photos are typically taken, also very normal. And then he had the inmate against the wall for about 2.5 minutes. Of course, the jury had to watch this video, and it's tough to watch, which shows close-up moments from beating, circling, and identifying each of the defendant's actions. Trombley assisted the prosecution identifying those involved in the incident who were right there in the courtroom. And the viewpoints from all 4 body cameras are shown simultaneously. I mean, there's just, I got nothing here. The defense really has nothing. At this point, it's just trying to minimize a fire that they can't put out. And of course, Officer Kinsley several times is being shown with his hands around the inmate's neck while the inmate is cuffed. Yeah, you got nothing here, dude. Okay, Trombley was then asked by the prosecution if someone in the room during the incident made a joke about Brooks' appearance. He said yes. He said he didn't know who made the joke, but he laughed at it. The fire just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, during the cross-examination, the lawyer for Nicholas Kiefer asked about some of Trombley's interviews with the state police and district attorney's office, and referred to Officer Kiefer as a level-headed guy and told investigators he used pepper spray. There must have been a reason. Well, and anyone who knows the department knows the department prefers for you to use pepper spray over physical force or batons because it's by far the least lethal force. The only problem with that is you have to decontaminate the inmate. All right, Trombley was then asked if any injuries after Brooks was pepper sprayed. He said he wasn't paying attention, but that the pepper spray was the only hit Brooks in the back of the neck. And claims he never saw Officer Kiefer once struck inmate Brooks during the whole thing. Of course, Trombley was then questioned. He asked if the supervisor serves as a model officer and how he behaves. He says yes. He's also acknowledged he directs officers when and when not to interact, which is definitely true. He was also asked if reports are supposed to be honest and accurate when he signs them. He says absolutely. That's common in any law enforcement department. I don't care where you go in the United States. Alright, seems like Trombley wasn't expecting beans to continue in the infirmary, but did not do anything to stop it from happening. I tell you, he must have made one hell of a deal here, if I think that's what happened. He also doesn't recall whether or not he advised Officer Gallo to put the leg shackles on Brooks. Alright, Trombley also told during a cross-examination that jurors of one of the officers were striking Brooks all over and didn't see where the strikes were hitting. He said he didn't direct anyone to continue using force, but did nothing to stop it. I mean, guys, just wave the white flag right now. Trombley also said at one point he turned his body on his body cam and directed other officers to do so. This is after performing CPR. Oh boy, yeah, this is gonna work. He also told the jury, "It's shameful. I regret it. I wish I could change it. I honestly forgot to turn on my body camera because I was close to going home. I knew I was wrong. I regret the whole thing. I'm shameful of it." Oh yeah, you are, dude. Because after this, I mean, if you did make a deal, you'll be wearing a skull letter A, no matter where you go. I'm hoping this guy plans to move out of the area because he's gonna have to. All right, after the prosecution rested their case, they argued the trial should be dismissed, citing the prosecution failed to establish the necessary levels of intent or depraved intent difference. Good luck. And that's where you are right now. Today is the closing arguments of this, and these officers are not getting away with anything. My question is did Trombley make a deal? I mean, if he does, he avoids prison time, well, maybe good for him, but the community's not going to love him. The officers involved who are going to jail will not like him, but, you know, the officers should have known. These are experienced enough officers where they should have said, okay, guys, someone needed to take charge here. Anyway, what's your opinion? I'd like to know. This is not looking good. I expect no one to be found innocent. They're all getting time, and looks like they'll be hitting the Clinton Correctional Facility, where there's a area up there for ex-law enforcement officers to do time. We'll see. All right, everyone. God bless you all. We'll talk to you later.